Here's what I've learned so far from you, and I want to continue because I think there's more you can share with us. Number one, if there's not an expectation of you doing the first part of being sober, you can't stay here if you're not sober. And I was the one charity you talked about that I've been to multiple times, Mission,
Midnight Mission, yeah.
Midnight Mission, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have that, you don't get to get in.
Yeah.
I'll never forget when one time my friend and I, Guy and I, got into a big debate. Him and I used to work at Burger King together back in 94. And good friend of mine, lived at his place for 18 days. He knows who he is, but I don't want to disclose his political leanings. We got into a debate. I said, listen, anybody that we give welfare, food stamps to, we have to drug test them. You can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? Who's giving it to them? Taxpayers. We have to drug test anybody that's getting food stamps and is getting, welfare or Section 8. No, that's not fair. That's discrimination. I said, I was in the Army for almost 3 years. You know what we did every other Monday morning formation? If your Social Security's last four starts with number 4, step forward. And then 7 people would step forward. You're being tested. Go ahead and pee. We're watching you. And you'd go pee and somebody's watching you pee. Okay? Great. Hey, you tested for weed. You get demoted from an E4 to an E1. No shit. Yeah. You went from making $1,400 a month. You're down to $680 a month now.
Yeah.
So there was a level of accountability for that. So I like the fact that there is this idea of if you're not going to stay sober, we're out.
Yeah.
What else did you see the success ratio of people getting off? Because 2 weeks ago, we're talking about this topic, and I said, what I'm interested in is this, which we talked about a part of it here today. I want to know, one, okay, if this is a funnel and, you're going through the funnel, I want to find out, before somebody becomes homeless, how did they end up here?
Yeah.
Okay? So in your example, parents, heroin, you start testing, you start drinking, it goes from alcohol to this, to this, to this, and then boom, you end up here. That's the one area I'm interested in. And you said you met thousands of people on Skid Row, and you hate to say this, but it wasn't economic conditions why people ended up there. Almost everybody was drugs, and due to drugs, they had mental issues.
Yeah.
Okay. The next part I'm interested in is take this chart, and now this person's homeless, and they're in Skid Row. How do we get them off to become good citizens?
Yeah.
What do you think is the system that works? Did you get food stamps? Did you get welfare?
Yeah. And I sold them for drugs.
You sold them for drugs?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know people that have sold housing for drugs. I mean, they get
Section 8?
They get housing, and then they'll rent out their unit for pimps.
Stop it.
I swear to God. I swear. I rented a room in a Section 8 apartment in Harlem where I paid $600 for a room in a 3-bedroom Section 8 apartment. And I paid the whole rent, but it was still the cheapest room in town. That's not that bad. But, selling your little homeless housing Section 8 thing for a pimp to rent out, that's pretty bad. Because there's security and stuff at this homeless, but you slip $20 to a security guard, anyone's coming in.
Hey, let this guy just go handle his business. Here's $20 to you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
but what worked?
Yeah.
What worked for people to get off? And by the way, out of all the people that you saw, how many people did you see leave and get back to normal life, getting a job, getting their act together? How many success stories have you seen over the years?
I think through the Midnight Mission, I know probably 40 people.
Just from Midnight Mission?
Just from Midnight Mission.
How about outside of that?
Well, I eventually landed at a place called Cry Help, and I've known probably close to 100 people that turned their life around at Cry Help.
And how bad were they before they came to Cry Help? Were they full-on addicted, destroyed their lives, streets?
Yeah, Cry Help is a state rehab. It's not fancy at all, and it's actually where Robert Downey Jr. ended up. So it's the place that Robert Downey Jr. got sober at. And he had tried fancy rehabs and all that, but he ended up at like a state, a crappy rehab. And those are the best. The best ones are the crappy ones.
Why?
Because it's really hard to get off drugs when you're at a fancy rehab in the Hollywood Hills and there's hot tubs and there's no incentive for you to go through a hard time. The company is incentivized to just keep you at the rehab. And then there's a lot of corruption, and they can, there's cases where rehabs will give you money to relapse, so then you can come back and they can milk your insurance for another 30 days. I mean, it gets really dark.
Yeah, I see this here, that the Downey encouraged his following on social media, Twitter and Facebook, to support Cry Help.
Yeah. So he's donated a lot of money there. He got us new vans before I got there, but we had a whole fleet of vans that I don't want to speak for him, but I'd imagine that he probably owes his life to that place.
In 2014, Vanity Fair interviewed Robert Downey Jr., read the article that for over 50 years, Cry Help is of the belief that addiction is treatable disease. We provide programs and treatment, education, prevention, counseling, rehabilitation. Job one is get out of the cave. A lot of people do get out, but don't change. So the thing is to get out and recognize the significance of that aggressive denial of your fate, come through the crucible forged into a stronger metal. Robert Downey Jr. So some strong words.
Oh, yeah.
So why did they have a high success rate there? What did they do that caused them to be successful?
First of all, it was long-term. So most rehabs are 28 days. Cry Help, when I first went to Cry Help, it was 6 to 12 months. It was incredibly strict. No talking to the other sex. You got men with men, women with women. Chores. This is your house. You're going to live here for 6 to 12 months. You're going to mop the floor. You're not. And if you break rules, there's consequences.
Like such as what?
Like if you wear a hat downstairs, you weren't allowed to wear a hat.
Why?
Because it's rude to wear a hat in the cafeteria.
I love that.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah. It whipped us into shape. I mean, it's like the military. Like you need a little bit of that. You've been doing whatever you wanted to do on the street for years. Like you need to get a routine, So the fancy rehabs in the hills, they don't do that because they don't want you to leave. Because if you leave, they stop getting paid. So Cry Help, now listen, I'm not against all nonprofits. Cry Help is a nonprofit, but it was ran by actual ex-junkies. It was ran by people that got off heroin in like the 70s. They opened it up, completely nonprofit. And not only that, after like a few months, it's time to get a job. And we're going to help you get a job. And we're going to tie you into programs where you can get free tools. If you already have a trade. I already had a trade. So I got tools, I got work boots. They helped me get all that. They helped me get the job interviews. They gave me clothes to look well for my job interview. They let me go get the job. Then I started working at the job and I could still live there while I was doing the job. So that means I'm getting a check and they would help me with a bank. They helped me start a bank account. And now I'm putting the money in the bank account. And I'd give them, I think, 1/4 of my paycheck, to just get in the routine of like, hey, you got to pay something. It's not, I had a meager paycheck, but, it wasn't that meager. I was doing construction, it was decent money. And,
you're making $4 or $5 grand a month.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And, so then when you graduate, they say, don't leave. We have a place up the street for you. It's a halfway house. They really, really try to get you to go to that halfway house because then you're still connected. You're still right there. You're in a halfway house with people that you just went through the program with. There's still some sort of, oversight going on, but you have the freedom, to go live your life and everything. And then I'll just, I don't want to promote the 12 steps or anything, but it's very 12-step heavy. It's very community oriented.
Is it faith-based or no?
It is. Well, I mean, AA, some people would call it faith-based. I mean, to me, it's faith-based. But
I think AA is faith-based.
I
but
think
would you
so
say
too.
Cry Help is faith-based?
No, but it's 12-step based, so it's indirectly
faith-based.
Indirectly, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
And the OG guys that started in the 70s from being addicted to heroin, what was their stories? Do you remember the story of a founder of like...
Yeah, Jack Bernstein founded it, and he was a heroin addict, and he started it with a guy from Three Dog Night, the band Three Dog Night.
No way. I've seen him perform.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, just great guys. They were junkies back in the day, and they bought a plot of land, and, for cheap in North Hollywood, and they just formed this place, and it was designed to be a long-term program.
Yeah, Jack Bernstein, yeah.
Yeah, so he's a hero, and he's a faithful man. And but that's besides the point, but the people hate faith. Salvation Army, gets a bad rap. It's one of the most successful programs it might be the only successful program in San Francisco right now. And
but where are you going with that? Because you said faith. Is it because it's linked to faith-based?
Well, yeah, because a lot of places in California are very they hear the word faith and that's it. They're throwing it out the window.
Good for these guys that they use their story, But Jack Bernstein, you're saying, has nothing to do with faith. The vision of it and what he did wasn't a faith-based company.
Well, I know that privately he's a very faithful man.
Okay,
So I would say that yes.
Nowadays, more than ever, the brand you wear reflects and represents who you are. So for us, if you wear a Future Looks Bright hat or a Valuetainment gear, you're telling the world, I'm optimistic. I'm excited about what's going to be happening, but you're a free thinker. You question things. You like debate. And by the way, last year, 120,000 people got a piece of Future Looks Bright gear with Valuetainment. We have so many new things. The cufflinks are here. New Future Looks Bright. This is my favorite, the green one. Just yesterday, somebody placed an order for 100 of these. If you watch the PBD podcast, you got a bunch to choose from. White ones, black ones. If you smoke cigars and you come to our cigar lounge, we have this high quality lighter cutter and a holder for the cigars. We got sweaters with the Valuetainment logo on it. We got mugs. We got a bunch of different things. But if you believe the future looks bright, if you follow our content and what we represent with Valuetainment, with PBD Podcast, go to vtmerch.com. And by the way, if you order right now, there's going to be a special VT gift inside just for you. So again, go to vtmerch.com, place your order, tell the world that you believe the future looks bright. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.